Good afternoon. This is Teresa Long again, and I am looking at um, standard 3.6 in this video, where we collaborate with teachers and administrators to select and evaluate digital tools and resources that enhance teaching and learning and are compatible with school technology infrastructure. And for a couple of the assignments that hit on this particular content standard, we had a couple different things that we did with Dr. Lewis. One of them was we created an annotated bibliography on some articles that would relate to what it is that we are teaching, where we could read, get some current information, and then we reported that back doing an annotated bibliography. And what happened with that is that we wrote up our annotated bibliography, and I'm going to take you to that one right here. Well, actually, I probably should take it to the other one first. All right, so we wrote it up and did it in the resources, or typed it up the way that we thought was correct. And then he had us submit it to the AUM library, where they would go through and they would check, and then they sent us back some helpful hints on what we needed to do to perfect the writing that we had. And so they would leave us comments and things that we could go back and look at again, and to tweak and make them what they were supposed to be. And so then we were able to go back and make those corrections. And one thing I learned how to do was a running head through that. I had never learned how to do that, and that was one thing. We used the APA citing or citations through OWL, which was something new that I hadn't done before either. But I really liked the fact that we could send it in and get a response back that would help us, instead of just turning something in kind of basically half blind and having points taken off on things that we could have fixed if we understood a little bit more about what we were doing. So that was good, getting that help. I wish I had a resource like that for my students, that we could send it in. We don't have anything that we could send in like that unless I just made some kind of a agreement with maybe one of the English teachers or something. In my particular field, we don't do a lot of heavy research anyway, so whether I would use this a whole lot in my classroom still kind of to be determined. But also through that, it also got turned in through turnitin.com to make sure that we weren't plagiarizing anything. And there are some different sources out there, even though Turnitin probably would not be available through my school. One of the things that I actually enjoyed the most doing, we created a digital newsletter. And we had the choice of doing hard copy like I did, or we could have done a video one that we had loaded up. At that time, I wasn't overly secure in my video skills, so I went ahead and did the paper copy. This was early enough in the semester that, again, we hadn't done a whole lot of the video casting yet, and so I wasn't overly comfortable with it. Now, if the assignment had come later, I would have done the digital one after we've done a few of these screencasts. I've actually kind of enjoyed doing them and are using them now, actually, even in my classroom. Anyway, okay. So anyway, in this particular assignment, we looked at all kinds of different things that would help out in the education system. We talked about what cloud environment, or we read about what cloud environments were, and we got to look up a few of them that could be used in the classroom for storing information. We read about WebQuest and how that's different than just having them research a little bit of stuff online, that it actually takes them like through a whole process to do that. QR codes. I actually ended up using this in my class. Had a good time creating the QR codes, and sent my kids actually on a scavenger hunt where they would have to take their phones and scan the QR codes, and they would get clues to answer. And we actually used it as a review for a test that was coming up, and they enjoyed actually getting out of the classroom and being able to run around campus and use their phones, which usually they're not allowed to do at school. Another thing that we read about was Pinterest. I use that a lot, being in culinary arts and doing event planning, and a lot of different things that we do. Pinterest has a lot of information that we can use. I use it personally and bring stuff in for the kids. We actually have it blocked at our school that the kids can't get onto it on their computers, but they can get it on their phones if they turn off the Wi-Fi and only use their data. So sometimes that's kind of a hard thing to do. But they can also do it at home. And I've had students before where I've had them work on stuff at home. In fact, I had a student a year or so ago that was homebound, and she was in a foods class. And so I had her create a Pinterest page with some of the different information or stuff that we were actually doing in class to keep her up to date with what we were doing. Poll Everywhere was another thing that we had looked at. Something that you can use and the students can respond back to it, and you can get real-time answers up on the screen where they can see those kind of things. Augmented reality was interesting, creating videos, 3D pictures, animations. Again, it was interesting to find out a little bit about that. And then a lot of what we've been doing, and I'm not using this one to create this, but the Adobe Captivate, the screencasting type things that we could use, just really has interested me. I've used Movie Maker some now after this and have imported some videos in and made some videos and want to get the kids doing that because I think that they can make some really cool presentations with that. And then the last thing down here was Second Life, which was a 3D virtual reality type thing with, being in gaming. Kids would really enjoy that in the classroom. So that is how those three things there, I think, is really how we met Standard 3.6.